Hello there, world of tankers. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and in today's video, I'll be doing a masterclass on the Chieftain Mark 6. This tier 10 British Heavy does have some downsides, but overall, it is an absolutely fantastic tank. Right now, I have the second highest average damage in the NA server on this vehicle, and I was able to 3-mark it in just 30 games, which really showcases how capable the Chieftain is. I think I was able to go like 82, 83% as well. So this thing can put out damage, it can get those victories. In general, the Chieftain is a fantastic vehicle. So that's exactly what I'm going to be showcasing today. Let's start off with my consumables, provisions, and my equipment. Now the Chieftain has tungsten, and tungsten is by far one of the best abilities in the game, as it gives you a flat 15% damage increase. Obviously it can range between 105 and 125, but in general it's about a 115% damage versus the normal 100%. So your alpha damage with your standard goes from 400 to like 460, and then your premium rounds, which are high explosive, go from around 460, 470 to like 515-ish. So this thing, every 8 seconds, can deal over 500 damage. And that's not even mentioning that you have standard HE with almost 90 mils a pen that can deal over 600 damage when activating tungsten. That alone is crazy. This vehicle also gets gear oil, and it already has a pretty good top speed of 42, so with gear oil that's 46. It also increases the reverse speed by 4, so instead of reversing at 15, you can reverse at 19. So I'm pairing gear oil with improved fuel, which is giving me a massive boost in power to weight ratio and overall top speed. And then finally we have equipment. I'm running calibrated shells to take advantage of that premium Hesh. We are also running a refined gun to take advantage of the accuracy, engine accelerator to get that top speed, and apart from that, that's everything you're going to be looking at when it comes to the Chieftain Mark 6. Now, it's not the only part of this vehicle, because we also have armor. And the Chieftain actually has really good armor. It's gotten buffed a substantial amount of times to a point where the turret is actually really strong, as we can see. If we get a vehicle like the E5, this is what it looks like on flat ground aiming in on the Chieftain with about 340 mils of heat and 380. Yes, there are weak points, and I've gotten shot on many of these weak points, but if you're using gun depression, we can see that those weak points kind of fade away. Really, the only major weak point you'll be looking at is the hatch, but a lot of people don't realize this. The upper part of the hatch is actually really strong, like upwards of 300 and at weakest 230. And when using gun depression, it's basically impossible to pen the upper part of the hatch. A lot of people don't know this. So the only spot that you can reliably pen the Chieftain is this little window right here, and it's still a pretty strong point. It goes through the window into the lower half of the hatch, as we can see. People don't realize just how hard it is to pen a Chieftain hull down. This thing is crazy good in that regard. Obviously, the lower plate is very weak, the side armor is incredibly weak, but when you are able to get this thing on a ridgeline, especially if you're able to get that gun working, the Chieftain Mark 6 is absolutely no joke. So with that being said, we're going to be taking a look at 2 games in the Chieftain. We have my first one on Faust, and then we'll be taking a look at the last game that it took me to 3-mark this tank on, what was it, Castilla. Now, overall, I had a pretty good session. As I said, it took me 30 games to 3-mark this tank, and just shy of 4,000 average damage, ranking me the second highest average damage player in the Chieftain Mark 6 on the NA server, which is pretty crazy. This thing is honestly so good, and I don't know why more people don't use this thing. I mean, sure, the FV2 and 5B has some advantages. The gun of the 2 and 5B is better, but the 2 and 5B also doesn't have the ability to use 10 degrees of gun depression, great mobility, and it also doesn't get tungsten. So there are definitely areas where the Chieftain is amazing. In this game here, you're seriously going to watch those values. So we start by getting a pretty nice shell into the Murat in the crossing there. It's a not so bad beginning. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to drive over. The Murat's not looking at me, so I'm just going to aim in right on the side, and okay, that shell doesn't pen, only 250 damage. That's a bummer, but let's try again here. I don't even care if the Murat shoots me, because, again, I have tungsten. I'm dealing 530 damage with that high explosive shell there, and we've already managed to deal 1,173. I'm not able to take that player out of the game, and I was hoping the 60 TP was going to bounce me, but unfortunately, he pokes and gets the shell. But that's fine. At this point, we are already up to 2,000 damage, as the counter was just a little bit delayed. It's 2,000 damage in such a short amount of time. Now we're going to aim it on the Yo again. Boom, another 498 Hesh, 2,600 damage. I mean, We are just ripping out damage. All right, let's try and pen the Yo, and... Oh, okay. That looked like it went right through the hatch. Weird. But either way, didn't end up penetrating the Yo, so we're just going to reload again. We're going to aim it on the Yo, and boom. 537, bringing that Yo down to a potential one-shot for us with Hesh. We're over 3,000 damage already, and I'm going to go for the lower plate. Thought about the hatch, but it's kind of goofy, and if he just turned his turret, I might have missed, so rather guarantee the pen. Conf pans are just shot, because I have 3,000 DPM and that player doesn't. We can just get some very easy shells into that player. So we've already done 1 shot of damage and 2 shots of damage. Okay, that player's not doing all too great. Our 60 TP, unfortunately, does not hit the shot, so we're going to hit the Conf Panzer. And, you know, I thought about it. I'm like, I don't even care if he shoots me. I have so much DPM, and because this KPZ really can't go anywhere, I can just shoot him again. So there you go, another 450 damage, placing us over 5,300 at this point, which leaves us with only a few vehicles left. We have a T-54, the 60 TP 777, and a full health minnow. Now for me, I want to get that minnow shot. So that's exactly what I'm aiming on. I'm going to shoot the engine deck. We max roll, and oh my, that is 800 damage right there. Still burning, 870. We shoot him again. Another fire. Just 2 shots into his tank. We've taken off 1,700 damage. And there you go. We just full health killed a minnow in 3 shots. That is wild. That is 7,348 damage dealt in an incredibly short game. What's actually interesting is the enemy Mirat is the highest damage chieftain player, and they were literally on the enemy team. The only reason that player usually doesn't do great sometimes is because they like to play very passive, and, well, you saw what happened when they fought a skilled player. Oh, man. But yeah, the chieftain, it just bullied. It really did. The DPM that this thing has is insane. And I really don't know if a 2 and 5B would have been able to output as much damage. I just don't know. The Hesh that we hit on that Yo and all the bleed that we did on that Mirat, it's super scary. Like, the fact that we dealt that much and we barely even bled any health, man, I really wish we could have done a little bit more in that game. But either way, that was a crazy good battle. So that brings us to the second game in the Chieftain on Castilla. And Castilla is one of the worst maps in the game for heavy, as many of you are very well aware. And not only that, but in this game, I'm on the bad spawn. The reason that this spawn is worse is because if we take a look at an overhead view, if you're in a tank destroyer here, you only have this little ridge to work, and it really doesn't give you that many angles on the hill. It does give you some decent shots on heavy side, but in general, the other side of the map gets this entire hill to work. And from these positions, you can overlook the entire side here. And you can also go over towards the position over here. And you can overlook the, like, crossing on this spot. So, basically, you are just flat worse off on the spawn that I got. Green spawn. It's really silly. I don't know why Wargaming did such a poor job on balancing Castilla. Somebody even asked me when I was live streaming this, what's my favorite map? And I said, well, I can tell you my least favorite. We're on it. So we're going to aim it on the 260. We're fully aimed in. Chieftain gun trolling me there. What's interesting is we have better base dispersion than a Leopard 1 because we're running refined gun, but still our shell completely missed. But hopefully that shell did not miss. We have the AMX, but because he's behind the car, I'm not going to fire high explosive. We just fire standard shell. Guarantee the pen, and that puts us up to 524 already, so that's pretty good. All right, well, let's see. We can tell that the 260 tried shooting at me because there was a little bit of rubble that got destroyed over there. I'm just going to move into cover while I'm undetected, and I'm going to get over to this spot here. You never want to poke where my T62A is, and the reason why is because you're literally a free target for anybody to farm when you go there. And you can see that. The T62 is being ripped apart by the tank destroyers. To be fair, I'm not even sure what bro's doing. He's literally facing the wrong way. I don't even know what he was doing, but either way, we try to get a shell into the Yo. First shot misses, but that's fine. Yo's not looking at me right now. They don't hit the shot. But I do want to obviously take this Yo out of the game. So we're going to try again, aiming it on his roof. Boom. 429. Pretty good stuff. We're up to 1,400 damage, and that's because we did penetrate our blind shot Hesh on the enemy object 260. Okay, well, the AMX M4 is pretty low. They only have 700 health, and I'm not spotted this exact moment. So I just got spotted. The AMX didn't notice that until it was too late. And now we've taken off a substantial chunk of their health. Now we're just going to drive to his flank, get an easy shell, and he's out of the game. That puts us over 2,000 damage, and now I'm going to aim it on the back of the Yo. I don't know how this didn't pen. I really don't. It was a perfectly aimed shot. and it missed by a mile. But that's Blitz in a nutshell, right? Either way, we're going to try again. Let's aim it on the side of the yo, and we low roll. But it's alright. We're up to 2,700 damage already, and that's pretty good. Up against us, we still have quite a few dangerous vehicles, though. We got the Waffle, we got the WZ-111 GFT, and I know that I'm unspotted at this point, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play real aggressive over here, and we're going to see if I can spot that Waffle. If I get into the dip, at least I'm pretty safe here, and there you go. We do have the enemy Waffenträger spotted. Fire a high explosive into his vehicle. The standard HE, as we went over, does more damage, and even if that vehicle is Spall Liner, because I'm dealing 15 more damage on my HE than I am my AP, it means that I'm still going to deal just a bit more on average firing high explosive at the Waffle and any other vehicle like that, even if they have Spall Liner. So nothing's going to spot me there. We're going to keep moving up. I was a little worried that the Waffle might try and sit side on here, shoot me in back in the cover, because obviously I only have 900 health. And while that is enough to take a shot from every single vehicle, it's not enough to take 2 shots from any tank, so I don't want to put myself in an awkward position. We got a nice shell into the enemy object 260. I put on my adrenaline just in case that 260 tried to shoot me, or, you know, I could get the clear, because getting kills does give you XP. But at this point, we've already done over 3k. We're at like 3,500 with the blind shot on the 260. And yeah, let's keep going up. Let's see what we got going on here. We got the WZ, and I got a nice HE into his rear for 508. That's really good. We're up to 4,000 damage now. T100 is going to aim it on the line, which allows me to slam a high explosive into his turret for 588. What a juicy roll. And unfortunately, our lion dies, but I don't care. I'm going to activate Tungsten, guarantee the clear on that player with an AP shell. And all that leaves us with is the enemy Waffenträger. So we're going to keep moving up. We're going to get an HE into his turret. Boom, 476, or 456. And that's it. 5,482 damage. Pretty good game overall. I can't complain. Overall, most of the Chieftain games I had were very, very good. I think I only lost like 3 games out of the 20 or so I played. And, I mean, you can see the Chieftain just dominated. This thing is a beast. It really is. I actually believe that the Chieftain is stronger now than it was in its previous state. And the simple reason why is because the Hesh, the Tungsten, and the mobility, all of that combined, it really does allow this vehicle to get away with whatever it wants. So, yeah, this is my 3-mark Chieftain. I'm actually getting pretty close to finishing all of the tier 10s. I haven't been rushing them. In total, there are 29 tier 10s left to 3-mark, and most of them are pretty easy. Concept 1B, Kron, 113G. I mean, most of these vehicles are pretty strong. I saved the OP ones for last because I wanted to have an enjoyable finishing session with 3-marking. So most of the cringe tanks, I already finished. Like the 183, the Yag, the Mouse, you know, all that. It's all done. So I think it's going to be pretty smooth sailing from here on out. But either way, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.